have you ever heard of a town that simply disappeared? No war, no earthquake, no plague, just a thriving American community that vanished as if the ground swallowed it whole. Tonight, we're traveling deep into one of the darkest corners of American folklore, the story of Ashwood, a place whispered about in hushed tones, a town that officially existed. Yet no one can find it anymore. Ashwood, according to scattered records, was a mining town founded in the early 1900s. Nestled somewhere between the dense Appalachian forests and forgotten backroads of West Virginia, it was never big enough to appear on most maps. Yet, for the people who lived there, Ashwood was home, a church with a towering steeple, a diner that never closed, children laughing as they ran past the railway tracks that cut through the valley. But today, if you drive down those roads, all you'll find are abandoned tracks that lead to nowhere, wild vines choking the skeleton of houses, and silence so heavy it presses against your chest. The first whispers of Ashwood's curse began small. It was 1922, and miners complained about strange noises echoing deep underground, not the creak of shifting rock, but voices. One miner, John Mallory, swore he heard a child calling his name hundreds of feet below the surface. Yet no children ever went down there. Others laughed it off. Just exhaustion, they said. Just the brain playing tricks in the darkness. But then came the animals. Farm dogs ran into the woods and never returned. Horses refused to go near certain parts of town, whinnying and pulling back as if something invisible barred their path. The town's preacher, Reverend Cole, called it temptation, the devil's whispers in a hard-working man's ear. Yet even he seemed unsettled. The first true disappearance was in 1924. Mary Ellen, a 9-year-old girl, was playing by the old water tower with friends. When her mother called for her, the children returned, all except Mary Ellen. Search parties scoured the woods for weeks. Dogs sniffed trails that suddenly stopped in the middle of clearings, as if she had vanished into thin air. Her shoes were found neatly placed at the edge of the forest, as though she had taken them off herself before stepping into the unknown. That was the beginning, but it was far from the end. By the late 1920s, Ashwood was no longer the quiet little mining town it once was. Whispers of children vanishing, men going missing on their way back from the mines, and women who swore they saw figures staring through their windows at night spread like wildfire. Yet, strangely enough, there were no strangers in Ashwood. Everyone knew everyone. So who were those figures in the dark? The disappearances never followed a pattern. A farmer named Joseph Miller walked to the general store one afternoon and never returned. His horse and cart were found tied neatly outside the shop, reins perfectly coiled, but Joseph himself was gone. The store clerk swore he never saw him come in. His wife insisted he had left just minutes before. It was as if the town swallowed him whole, and then there were the lights, strange flickering orbs seen floating above the tree line late at night. Some said they were lanterns carried by lost souls. Others claimed they were signs from beneath the earth, warnings of something terrible waiting to rise. The miners, hardened men who had seen rockfalls, cave-ins, and suffocation, began to refuse working underground. They said the voices were louder now, more insistent. Some even claimed the voices no longer came from below, but from the very walls of their homes. Families began to flee. Wagon by wagon, car by car, Ashwood's population dwindled. Yet for some reason, a core group refused to leave. Maybe it was poverty, maybe it was denial, or maybe they were too afraid to move, convinced that whatever haunted Ashwood would follow them wherever they went. In 1931, the school teacher, Miss Lillian Carter, wrote in her diary, a diary that would later be found in the ruins of her home, that she felt something watching the children. She described shadows moving in daylight, outlines of figures standing motionless at the edge of the playground. Her entries became more frantic as the weeks went by, until the final page simply read, "It wants the children now." And not long after, the entire school was found empty, every child, every teacher gone. Books left open on desks, chalk frozen mid, word on the board, a half-eaten apple rotting slowly on the teacher's desk. The townsfolk searched in desperation, but not a single footprint led away from the schoolhouse. It was as though the walls had swallowed them. Fear turned to panic. Those who remained spoke of nightmares so vivid they woke up screaming, clawing at their bed sheets. Men who never drank began downing whiskey to make it through the night. Women whispered of seeing their dead relatives standing in their living rooms. By 1935, Ashwood was dying, businesses closed, the church stood locked and silent. The last train stopped running, the conductor refusing to return after he claimed he saw passengers boarding who weren't there when the train arrived. Skeletons of houses began to rot under the weight of ivy and neglect. The silence grew heavier, the woods pressed closer, and then, the night of the storm, it was spring of 1936, when thunder rolled across the valley and lightning split the sky, a storm like none had seen before. The few who later spoke of it described winds that screamed like human voices, rain that fell black against the windows, and an air so charged with electricity that lamps flickered without being lit. And when the storm passed, Ashwood was no more. Travelers who came days later found only empty foundations, splintered wood, and stone chimneys rising like gravestones in the mud, every soul gone. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just a vanished town. Decades passed. Ashwood became nothing more than a whisper on old maps, a forgotten dot in West Virginia's vast woods. The government declared the valley unstable, due to abandoned mine shafts, and condemned it. Roads leading in were torn apart by floods and landslides, but still the stories lingered, they always do. By the 1950s, thrill-seekers and curious wanderers began searching for Ashwood. Most returned empty, handed, claiming the forest swallowed their tracks and twisted their sense of direction. Some, however, returned shaken to their core. One group of college students in 1957 claimed they heard children laughing in the woods, though no children were with them. Another man swore he saw the outline of a church steeple glowing in the fog, only to vanish when he approached. In the 1970s, a paranormal research team attempted to investigate the valley. They set up recording equipment, cameras, and mapping tools. The footage that survived, because much of it was lost, showed static, filled nights, sudden bursts of screaming picked up on audio, and one chilling video clip of a shadow crawling across the forest floor on all fours, impossibly fast. The team never completed their report. 2 of them vanished, their tents left intact, sleeping bags unrolled. The others refused to speak publicly about what happened, only leaving the valley with hollow stares and silence. And then came the internet. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, Ashwood became a legend shared on forums, whispered in chat rooms. People uploaded grainy photos, an old schoolhouse doorframe, a rusted bell in the mud, scraps of wood with names carved into them. Some were dismissed as fakes, others, too real to ignore. Locals in the surrounding towns, even today, warn outsiders never to go looking for Ashwood. They say you don't find it, it finds you. That if you wander too deep into the wrong part of the woods, the air changes. Birds stop singing, your phone dies, and the next step you take, the world doesn't feel the same anymore. Truck drivers on the nearby highway claim to see ghostly lantern lights drifting through the trees. Campers talk about hearing children crying in the night, only for the sound to turn into laughter, and some hikers too few to ignore tell stories of waking up at dawn to see small handprints pressed into the dew around their tents. But the most disturbing accounts are recent. In 2018, a YouTuber exploring abandoned places posted a video titled "We Found Ashwood." The 20-minute video showed broken foundations, stone chimneys, and the remains of what looked like a school desk half, buried in the dirt. But halfway through the video, the screen glitched. For 2 frames, a figure could be seen in the distance, tall, thin, its face blurred as if the camera refused to capture it. The YouTuber never posted again. His channel remains online, frozen in time, the video still up. Some say if you watch it alone at night, you'll hear whispers behind you by the end. Today, Ashwood is spoken of as America's vanishing town. A place where an entire community was consumed by something unseen, unexplained, and unstoppable. Was it a curse, a government experiment gone wrong, a breach between worlds, or did the town simply decay and vanish with time, its legend inflated by fear? The truth is, no one knows. But if you ever find yourself driving through West Virginia, and the woods seem darker, the air feels heavier, and you notice lights flickering deep between the trees, don't stop, don't listen, and whatever you do, don't follow the voices. because Ashwood is still waiting.
I am slowly learning that some people are not good for me, no matter how much I love them. I deserve someone who is gentle and kind, because my soul is getting tired. I am slowly learning that some people are not good for me, no matter how much I love them. I deserve someone who is gentle and kind, because my soul is getting tired.